Alright guys, hey, I'm back. This is going to be the first video of a series of videos I'm going to do for 28 scale cars. The series is going to be called 28DIALED. And so, I'll have interviews with some other racers on the team and just, pretty much whoever's hot around the country. I'll try to get them on video, give them some tips. What I'm going to do is kind of go through the basics to help people that are new to the sport, and then not only if you're new to 28 scale, you start getting into the GL, the Thomas and the reflex cars, to different animal in the MR3 type kilo show. So this is kind of aimed towards those people, but a lot of the stuff is general information that will help everybody. So today the subject is going to be radio and radio settings, to kind of go over some things, some common mistakes that I see a lot actually. So first things first. So I prefer San Juan myself. Some people like the Nova Radio, Futaba. They all do the same thing, and they all the settings, the adjustments might be different on the radio, but they all do the same thing. You've got your dual rated expo, servo speed, etc., etc. So I'm going to try to give you a little insight on how to set your car up and how to make it, at least that part of it, to be right, because a lot of times when I go to tracks, people have that completely backwards. They'll adjust dual rate, they'll adjust endpoint instead of dual rate, although it's just both, and that's not really the correct way to do it. That's not really how it works. So with that being said, here's where we're going to start off. So let's talk about endpoint. So we've got separate servos on these cars, and so the likelihood of you getting that servo exactly in the center and having the exact same left to right is very, very low. I mean, it can happen. Some people have done it, but more than likely it's not. And that's the point of the endpoint settings, right? Once you set your endpoints for your car, you no longer touch those at all. You don't adjust them at all. That's what dual rate is for. So what that means is if I have, for some reason, the endpoint on the right side is, just say, 65, and the endpoint on the left side is, say, 85. Now, those numbers make the car turn equally left and right, okay? But when you adjust the dual rate, it takes the left and the right down from wherever they are. So if your right was 65, and your left was 75, and then you went dual rate -5, it'll break the right side to 60 and the left side to 70, keeping them equal, right? You don't want to go on your radio and adjust each individual endpoint, because the car is going to turn left one way more or right one way the other. And most of you have already figured out that moving your dual rate 1 point will make a difference in how the car runs on the track. So you want that to be evened out. So a little bit of an explanation, maybe, if I can get this to look right. So you've got, let's just say, for instance, full lock on this side would be, like I said earlier, we'll just call it 65. And the full lock on this side would say 85. All right. When you go to center is center no matter what. Okay. So obviously, if you're full lock left or full right, the car is probably going to oversteer. So what you're going to do is you're going to dual rate, and you're going to back it off. Now, when you initially first set your car up, you want to make sure that your dual rate is at 100%. Okay? And then what you'll do, I'm going to try to explain this on this video. It's going to be hard. I meant to take a video of this over the weekend, but I didn't get around to it. So you'll get your car on the ground, and what you'll do, you have two tiles on the minis. You'll have a left tile, right tile. You put this in the dead center of the tile, and you put your car full lock on the radio, and you just go really slow until the car comes around to the second tile. Okay? And you bring the car, set it back in the middle. Whatever that number is, that's going to be your endpoint. Now, it may go way over too far. If it's too far over, then you add endpoints to make it closer in until they're equal. I hope this makes sense. I'll make a little drawing on that. And you do the same thing on the right. Okay? Now, at that point, your car is equal left to right, regardless of what the endpoint numbers say. Okay? Now, once you've got that set up, put the car on the track. All right? Put your dual rate, just say 60 is a good one to start with. Maybe 60 or 50 just to drive the car. At that point, drive your car, see if it needs more or less steering, and adjust from there. It's just that simple. I'll make a little sketch for you right quick. All right, so hopefully this will make sense. So that's what I mean. So that dotted line is the path of your car, and the squiggly lines are two tiles of your RCP. All right, so now we got that situated. Let's talk about Expo. Expo, okay, so no matter what, when you just Expo, your endpoint of the Expo will be the same. So meaning, if you have a dual rate of 85, no matter what your Expo is, when you go full lock, it's still going to go 85. All right, but what the Expo does, it makes a curve out of it. So let's just say I'm going to drop a negative 10 Expo just for an even number. All right, this would be negative 10 Expo. That makes sense. All right, the curved line is what your radio is going to put out. Okay, why would you do that? A couple of reasons. For instance, the reflex car has a direct servo, so the servo goes directly to the links, which makes the servo act really, really fast. So in that car, you got to run a lot of negative Expo to compensate for it being so fast compared to the way the other cars are. But be that as may, let's just go with what I do. So if I'm on a track, a smooth, long, flowing track, that type of track, you can get away with, me personally, I can get away with running a little bit of negative Expo. I don't like to run more than 1 or 2% either way myself. If I do, I got to change the car. I just can't. It's too delayed for me. The Expo does somewhat delay the car, the feeling anyway. So now if you get on a short, tight track, you don't want to run a lot of negative Expo because it does feel delayed a little bit. So what will happen, you get through a chicane and you can't get your timing right. So at that point, you want to go closer to 0 on your Expo setting to get through those sections a lot better, if that makes sense. So that kind of covers that. Let's go ahead and while we're talking about front end stuff, one of the things that's kind of critical on these cars is going to be your front tire offset. This is kind of a subject that comes up a lot. I'm going to try to make it clear and help everyone understand this a little bit better. On a one-to-one car, one-to-one race car, actually pretty much any car, the car you have outside in the driveway, the car you drive every day, your center point is roughly the center of the wheel. Okay. Now on a Mini Z, our center is the center of the knuckle. So the further you go out away from that center, the more, I'm going to say, inaccurate the steering becomes. Now, understand that we're on super, super high grip. So for us, it's going to be more of a feeling than anything else, right? But I will say that the more offset you run on your car, the more tire scrub you're going to get, because what's going to happen is, because the center of the steering is on the knuckle and not in the middle of the wheel, it makes an awkward radius, if that makes sense. So what it's going to do, whereas so here's what we got here. Alright, so the +3, if you see the black dot is where the steering is going to turn from. So if you think about it, that tire is going to end up being at a really awkward angle the more you turn, say, to the right. Okay? Your center, which is like a normal one-to-one car, the tire is not going to move very much off of center line. Okay, so what that's going to equate to on the track is the closer you have your wheel towards that center point, the less tire scrub you're going to have, the more direct the car is going to feel in your hand. Now that brings up another point. If you're not an advanced driver, you're probably better off starting with a +2 or +3 until you get used to it, And as you get quicker, you'll see that most of the fast guys, we usually run, 0, 1, maybe 1.5 at the most, and that's usually about it. sometimes on a particular track you can get away with something crazy, but most of the time, personally, I run 0 or maybe a 1. That's it on any track. I just if I have to adjust something else, that's probably going to be it. I don't like the indirect feeling of anything over a +1. I really don't even like +1, to be honest with you. So that's kind of how that works out with Tire Scrub. And if you guys, this video is going to be posted up on the MWS Performance YouTube channel, and I also posted on the MWS Performance Facebook page. So if you guys have questions, feel free to ask that when you see the video, and I'll go back in further detail on this if need be. This is going to be Series 1, Episode 1, and we're going to keep rolling with this. Thanks a lot, guys.